Greetings, everyone. I'm Angela Robles, and welcome to SFO Continuity. So I wanted to share with my relationships, my audience, where my true focus and really passions lie within the family office, specifically single family office community. And some of you that are joining us today are people that perhaps I've known for many a year. I've been in the community for decades. So some of you, it may go back a while, and I greatly appreciate you. But I'm sure we have some others that are new as well. And I think I have a message and effectively a benefit that is going to be impactful and certainly valuable to many of you. So I'll start off with that my messaging, my context of what I call the 30 quote unquote founding members into a private membership community. Really, a lot of this hit me in terms of what works, what doesn't work, and mainly me listening to what you want really over the last couple of weeks. So before I get to that, I'd like to start mainly for those of you that are a little bit newer or haven't connected with me in a while, which I guess is good. I get outreaches every day from people that really are unfamiliar a little bit of even of my transition from Family Office Association. So to give a little bit of context, I'm a multi-decade entrepreneur, active in the family office community, and had a successful exit, being mostly known as being the founder and longtime CEO at Family Office Association. I sold to a wonderful man, and I hope they take FOA to levels that are beyond what I did. But that was not necessarily my passion anymore. Been there, done that. To me, was becoming a little bit too big and too commercial. Kind of discreetly, with little fanfare, I spent a lot of time in Wyoming this past summer, just really 7 or 8 months ago, and created technically the structure. I know a lot of great attorneys of a family office, a holding company, and I will be creating for me and my family an unregulated private trust company. So what I mean by all of this is I've been there, I've done that, I lived through it, I understand it, and having worked in the community for decades, knowing 2,000 plus family offices, incredible families, and thought leaders in the community, I suppose that gives me some enhanced insight of what works and what doesn't work. And now, having gone through it and sort of eating my own cooking, I think this is an important, let's call it, inflection point. So I thought about, and some that are perhaps on today understand, that my original vision for SFO Continuity as a private club, which really shaped into last summer, was going to be more focused on the depth of intellectual capital and value of digital downloadable masterclasses and my content. By the way, the majority of this community, and maybe this is what the majority wants, I'm not saying otherwise, effectively events or glorified event planner. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you do it well, that could be valuable. I think the industry has gotten overly saturated, way too commercial and sponsor driven, in my opinion. And there really is a dearth of deep intellectual thinking and effectively resources in the community. Even a lot of people that have known me for years have not known that I've traveled to Africa to create a family office in Nigeria, to the United Arab Emirates, to Europe multiple times. And this is earned. It's not a birthright. It's not something that I took in college and wanted to. I came into this community humble. Yes, I was that at one time. And really not knowing anything, but willing to put in the hard work, and got so fortunate to meet someone as wonderful as Joe Riley and then Ryan Anson along the way that would become back-to-back presidents in FOA that did such an amazing job. And I learned so much from them. But through osmosis and being around the community, hopefully I've learned a thing or two myself, and global travels were a part of it. So I thought, I've made mistakes before, I thought that effectively best practices delivered in writing and digital and online was really what quote unquote the audience wanted. And I do believe that's valuable. And for certain segments, maybe younger in the community that are more fluid online and socially, that is a very important thing for them. But I've learned, which I'm going to get to in a second, but I want to give a little bit of a shout out to those of you in the summer that had an opportunity, that believed in my vision. I greatly appreciate you. I'll forever be indebted. And I need to do the right job in terms of moving forward. So we really were not perfectly ready to launch at that moment. And then it ended up taking longer than I expected. But that time is now. And I always take care of those, I think it was 7, that believed in my vision over this past summer. And effectively from now through the following 12 months, their value, their true benefits truly begin. And it's an honor to be of service to them. Here's what I'm reminded of, and this is very, very important, whether I wanted to accept it or not. The strange part was I was good at it too, in terms of integrating programs, speaking face-to-face, engaging the audience. But I wanted to go in that different direction. As opposed to actively listening, I was forcing, I suppose you could say, my will on my new enterprises, quote unquote, on the audience, as opposed to listening to them. So in the last couple of weeks specifically, I'm reminded that the community has spoken. Nothing, no amount of my deep intellectual property on digital downloadable masterclasses, my best practices, and by the way, the industry is sorely, sorely lacking in that. Not to pat my back too hard, I've earned it over 20 years. And have a lot of great people around me. My content, honestly, compared to what's out there, it's really, really good. I absolutely know how to create a top 1% family office, and that's one of my digital downloadable masterclasses. And there's a variety of topics. But honestly, the vast majority of you are really not that interested in it. I think if you were to obtain it and view it, it would actually, you would gravitate it even more and appreciate and understand it. But the reality is we're still human beings. We're still social. You all, 99% of you, nothing beats face-to-face interaction. So where this started to come to light a little bit with me is my December trip, which was extensive, to Europe, primarily in Vienna and Austria, and the opportunity of having a gracious host, Alexander Galambos, and the opportunity of hosting a variety of programs in person. And you know what? It got my juices going. I miss it. I'm a very social person. I do enjoy the stage. So the opportunity for me in Europe, really heading into the holiday season, opened up my eyes. This is what people want. This is what I missed. And damn it, this is also, rather bluntly, what I'm good at. So a little more context. Really only a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to show will all come together in what I'm looking for in quote unquote, along with those that joined earlier last summer, really into effectively, and a new member actually, which I'll get to broadly because of the last 2 weeks. So a little bit of context relative to the last 2 weeks. I'm going to start with the 2 weeks ago. So in seeing the value of knowing people like interaction face to face, I had the opportunity to spend almost a full week in Palm Beach. And not to sound snobbish, I promise, but to me, Palm Beach is the Breakers. It's the Brazilian Court. It's the Colony. It's an opportunity to interact in some of the finest establishments, quote unquote, in Palm Beach. So for me, given I have connections at the Breakers, I don't want to go into too much detail, but let's say a combination of ownership group and management, and they've always been so gracious to me. They were kind enough to offer me some special opportunities to host in the seafood bar. For those of you that are familiar, beautiful, overlooks the water at HMF. They're pretty much their flagship. And I did a series of what I would call soirees, roundtables, investor roundtables, lunches and dinners. I also did a little bit in and around the Colony and outdoors at the Brazilian Court. And it was incredible. I'm just going to be honest with you. Those of you that I invited who didn't attend, like you, really missed a tremendous opportunity. And by the way, no true speakers and sponsors. And again, I'm listening to what the audience wanted. We wanted effectively fostered peer-to-peer among principals, rising generation, and legitimate decision-making, quote unquote, family office executives. And that is what I delivered. And the opportunity that came out of that, I'm thinking through some of it's playing out in my mind now. There was a Texan there that was an incredible real estate investor, incredible. And the insight that we were able to get out of him, and then he actively engaged after he felt comfortable, that's what peer-to-peer truly is, was sharing incredible insights over really 15 or 20 minutes on what he does and how he does it. That was mind-boggling to me. And not the only one, someone incredibly active in the defense industry, both public and private, and sharing insights there, which related to geopolitical issues and certain things and how that's going to impact markets. Biotech, an incredibly talented actual principal. These are all principals actively talking in his example about biotech. There were others, but off the top of my head, that's a couple that stood out. When you see people start to take out their phones and they're explaining that they're not there to send a text or an email, they want to take a note, or those that literally were taking notes and asking for a pen. I don't know if I've ever seen that. Now, part of it is intimate. Some of them are literally, including me, 4 people. And I think the biggest, maybe the soiree at the Brazilian court, more of an outdoor social gathering, was probably 12. So this is intimate. And that's what people wanted. And it worked incredibly well, incredibly. The insight that was fostered, now that I'm a more active investor than ever before, and living and going through some of the things, including generational transition with my family, were honestly, I think, pound for pound better than anything that I've ever done at Family Office Association. So moving forward in my private membership community, which is called SFO Continuity, I'm desiring 30 founding members. After this past summer and the last 2 weeks, we're making damn good progress. What is a founder? It's someone who believed in my vision early, before I even maybe necessarily had something to share, although now I actually do. They deserve a certain amount of respect from my perspective forever. They deserve an opportunity to come in at favorable pricing for their early commitment. Let's go with that. And an opportunity to have a say, which I didn't listen to enough in the summer, and that's my fault. And likely to form committees and have them decide not only somewhat the direction of the group, but also who's going to be coming in. So I'm a believer in you build up to 30. That's my passion. That's my focus. Then you effectively take a pause. I could argue that could be as long as 6 months. And then together as a group, admittingly, my decision is final, but together as a group, we decide what we're looking for, who we're going to outreach to, and how we're going to grow. So for me, it's the opportunity of May through October. New York City is effectively my home. When I'm not in Jackson Hole, which is really not that much, I'm still mainly in Greater Greenwich, Connecticut. So New York City is effectively I'm in a suburb of that. And New York, and like right now, heading into May through late October, I think is beautiful. So not a weather issue. So this upcoming Tuesday, I'm going to New York. I'm visiting a really kind of cool location that is kind of a very expensive music studio, a unique setting, and has a rooftop. So the opportunity for us as a collectively, as a group, to host opportunities, I'm going to kind of say monthly. There may need to be some nuances in the summer, but given that rooftop, maybe multiple times per month. And the opportunity of coming together, bringing in interesting people to a degree, which we'll get to in a second, but the opportunity that peer-to-peer. Now, is this primarily an investing-centric group? Yes. Is it 100% of what the group is going to be? No. And in investing, which I'll get to shortly, we're going to have incredible insights on being a private and direct investor, really, really deep. We'll talk a little bit more about that within the coming minutes. But are we absolutely going to talk about structuring, about best practices, about practice management? Honestly, things I'm really, really good in. But I know that's not what the majority of you want. So maybe that gets 20% of our time. I do understand the realities of the world. You want to make more money. You want to hold on to what you got, and you want to keep your purchasing power through the impact of taxation and true inflation for the super rich, which I will always argue, especially now, is honestly probably closer to that 15% relative to assets you're buying and want to buy that are going up in value. When I interviewed Leon Cooperman, which I'll also get to, I think we spoke about, is the S&P or an index like that probably more of a barometer relative to your purchasing power? But again, I don't want to be too deep in the weeds relative to nuances of macroeconomics and investing. That's what the private group is for. And often, we could go for hours. So talking about things that are very, very important to our wealth and effectively the impact of our legacy. Now, continuing, it's not like it's only 6 months. November through April, Palm Beach is the hub, the home. Palm Beach is awesome. The weather is going to be great. So I'm looking at New York City and Palm Beach as effectively being my hubs. And by the way, New York City in May is absolutely going to happen. So those of you that are committed, I greatly appreciate you. And absolutely you're going to see a lot more activity beginning effectively like right now. Would I like to weave in a little bit of Hamptons in the summer? Could I get y'all to come out to Jackson Hole, maybe October? Come on. And a little bit of LA. But I know the anchors, the hubs, it's done, it's set, it's dialed in, is New York, the best times of the year, and Palm Beach, the best times of the year to be there. And perhaps growth from that now that I'm more connected in Europe. And by the way, one of the founding members is from Europe, from that trip that I took. I could probably get the Nigerian family that I helped to create a family office in Switzerland for, and probably one or two families broadly from the United Arab Emirates. But primarily, probably 90-95% of our members initially and the founding members are going to be where I'm based from, North America. That's where a lot of the family offices are. And that's where I have somewhat of a, I guess you could say, a brand and a reputation. So as noted, I already have over 10, and some of these came on recently, founding members. When will I complete to 30? I don't know. Maybe it's in June. Maybe it's end of the summer. Damn it. Maybe it's into the fall and early winter. I don't know. And I have no guarantee that necessarily collectively as a group, we're really looking to grow much beyond that. Maybe it's so overwhelming, stop it at 30, unless someone, God forbid, disabled, passes on, or simply decides to move on. And if that's really how the group feels, and I don't think so, I think we always want new blood, new ideas, but not in a rush, I guess you could say, to do that. I'm not doing this because the money's so great in building a membership group or the founding members are notably under 10,000 a year. Do the math with hosting events and all that. It is absolutely not a great living. I'm doing it because I love it and I want to do it. And if the timing is right to potentially grow from that, that's great. But the insight that I get and things I learn from are very, very important to me. So those are a couple of things that I wanted to mention. You get favorable respect in terms of coming on early, believing in me and me believing in you, favorable pricing, and the opportunity to have a say. Now, I did promise I would get more back to the amazing 2 weeks, which would include this week. So to give you a little bit of context, and some of you have followed and sent me information on, and I greatly and shockingly positive commentary. I'm used to only hearing the bad stuff. This has been an incredible week here in my studios, not traveling, but I'm going to explain how it's incredible that things are changing. And to be truly incredible for many of you moving forward, you're really going to have to be a member. You have to be supportive of what I'm building because you believe in it. You believe in the community and you believe that what's out there. And of course, I'm not going to mention names. That's really not that good. I mean, I'm just talking a little bit from my heart. I've been there. I've done that. I've lived through it. I understand. But back to this week. So it started with my interview with Leon Cooperman. I've interviewed Leon in person, speaking of Palm Beach, right heading into COVID. Damn, I still got a pretty good memory. February 21st of 2020. I reached out to Leon. Leon, would you be willing to do a digital interview? He kind of said yes. And then towards the end of my interview, which was released on Monday, was a little over an hour. I've never done more than like 15 or 20 minutes. So I take that as a backhanded compliment that I kept them engaged. I take pride in my growth and what I've done in the community, having done also hundreds, actually probably about 1,000 interviews, and my invest in acumen and knowledge in geopolitics and macro. And some of that I kept a little discreet and quiet, like my work helping to create family offices. I don't know, I had my reasons per se, but now the last year or so has been a little bit more of a coming out party. I think my interview with Leon Cooperman was very, very good. I don't have a lot of followers in Family Office TV. Another one of my initiatives more broadly to the public. If you don't follow me on my YouTube platforms, that's one of them. My bigger one is at Family Office. Please go to subscribe, it's free. And many of you active on LinkedIn. I do a fair number of lives, including what I displayed with Leon this past Monday. The insights that Leon provided, and even stock tips to this day that he shared, I think were incredible. But let me walk you a little more through the week. I also had on, many of you know, Jolene Caruso, former vice chair of UBS, founded her own merchant bank, extremely active in women in wealth and women in business, and she's incredible. Really, kudos to her. And that interview, which got a little interesting. So I'm a believer the industry is boring and vanilla. And there's not many that do the podcasting and interviews. I think they're terrible. Terrible. I'm an imperfect person. I needed to be humbled. I make mistakes all the time. Maybe my style in my interviews is not perfectly for you, but my Joe Rogan-like long form interviews, and I went 3 hours yesterday in one. I'll get to that in a second. I think they're creative. I think they're good. And they're definitely not really that vanilla and boring. I will ask some questions that I do try to bring back into wealth, geopolitics, and family offices, but they are off the wall. Me and Jolene went a little bit at it in a friendly way on issues pertaining to women in wealth, women in finance, even Caitlin Clark, her impact on the upcoming WNBA, the impact broadly in women in finance, and how, again, I do bring that back. I am not afraid to tackle subjects that are tough. I'm honestly pretty fluid in them. I'm definitely curious. And I listen to others, and I'm so disappointed in the content that's out there in the community. And I know I sound like, like a little howdy-towdy about it. It's just, and thank you. This week, I got so many reach outs. What an amazing week of interviews. On Wednesday, I interviewed a Stanford professor on creativity and creativity, bringing it back to business, finance, and entrepreneurship. And he actually knows family offices too. That was an incredible discussion. Yesterday was very special. I want to bring it up to you and then tie this back to what I'm doing with the 30 founding members. I had a little over 2-hour interview with Ram Alawalia, who I've known for a long time. And then my before mentioned longest ever, and I probably have done 400 podcasting format, with Adam Robinson, who is incredibly brilliant, has been on Tim Ferriss multiple times. So let me give a little bit of context to both those interviews and then tie it in. For those of you that are not familiar with Ram, this is a brilliant, brilliant man. So we covered effectively how to invest like Warren Buffett, but not just superficial. We talked about how to build a family empire. And as I travel the world, as I meet with some of the most dynastic families, including multiple in my stay in my work in Europe that go well over 500 years, they have multiple things in common. One of them is the ownership and control of private companies. I know it's more work. I know it's hard. If you're likely to have a truly dynastic family empire that goes way back, you're going to have to engage the rising generation in how the world really works, rolling up the sleeves and getting the benefits and potentially some of the arbitrages of being a legitimate direct investor. We went deep. Now, there's some things that me and Ram left a little off the table because certain things are meant for my members and some of my consulting relationships, and Ram feels the same way about his work. We went really deep in that interview. And again, You got 2 hours of incredible content. I don't believe it's released yet on my YouTube platforms. My team is working on it. They'll be up on Monday or Tuesday, but probably as a replay on X, formerly Twitter, or LinkedIn, because they were live. You could probably scroll through my platforms and find them, but I'm bringing that up. Those days are going to kind of come to an end. This was incredible content with this man. We also went over Meta, and he was on the Zuckerberg call from Wednesday night, and he shared his input on that. We went over uranium and nuclear plays. So it was not all directs. For those of you that are more public investors, we went hardcore into some incredible things with Elon, with XAI, with OpenAI. I'm a pretty active investor in the AI ecosystem, both, by the way, private and public. I am a direct investor. I am active. I have some controlling interest in some companies. I am living it. I'm not just talking the talk. So the big picture that I'm getting to is, honestly, more broadly, my audience at that interview, they actually got too much. I'm just being honest. I think what needs to be done in the future is maybe those are edited and clips are released. Maybe there's a 30 to 40 minute teaser where we give some great content away. Don't get me wrong. But I need to have the hook. I need to have the value that people like Ram are going to be of value to my founding members, my eventual members that come after that, and some of the consultative relationships that I take on. I am telling you, the insight in that interview with Ram was, it's incredible. I'm very proud to have a great guest on like that and to sometimes ask a good question to get it out of them. Adam Robinson, many of you are familiar with, one of the most brilliant men in the world, very opinionated, advisor to gigantic hedge funds and family offices. And we spoke about this latter part a lot. Maybe some of you didn't like it. A kind of an icon in chess, primarily due to him being tutored as a teenager by the one and only Bobby Fischer. And we went into a lot of things relative to chess, how it's impactful to the real world, where it's not. Bobby Fischer, would he have been a great hedge fund manager? And Adam shared some stories that I've never heard him say before. I've interviewed him multiple times in person, and the opportunity for interviewing him. Thank you. There's some comments coming in. Constantine, I'm really glad you enjoyed the Ram interview. Yeah, we dropped a lot of knowledge bombs, I guess you could say. So the Adam Robinson was 3 hours. I don't know where to start. Like from macro to Russia to Ukraine to geopolitics to non-family members working in the family office, the good and the bad, where the families have to take responsibility at the end, the buck stops with them. I have multiple sayings. By the way, most family offices, I know this always gets me in trouble. But maybe I like to be that bad boy in the family office world. I don't know, even though I suffer because of it. Most family offices are mediocre. It's just a reality. It's not just a mathematical average. When you've been to 2,000 of them, you know the really, really good ones very, very quickly. So they don't want to be told anything. They want to be left alone. Good family offices want to be mentored, and great, which is about 3%, want to be told the truth. And this is often the problem, and Ram brought this up with Elon. At this point, is anyone his court jester, or maybe it was Adam Robinson who did, that he could bounce ideas off and someone could tell Elon, that's full of shit. Your idea is totally wrong. Like, I don't think anyone's telling him that. And probably 98% of the time, Elon's going to be right. But that 2% that he may be wrong, may be really, really badly wrong. So my interview with Adam about how to process information, how to think about chess, about Caitlin Clark again, and women in finance and how that's intertwining, the world is changing. We covered a lot of subjects. Some of them were rather sensitive. And Adam was kind enough to say that was, again, among the most complex, creative interviews that he's ever done. And I received many, many reach outs. And again, I know my style is a little bit raw, a little bit unique, but you're not getting the quality of the content and questions and the time that I put in, sometimes staying up to 1 or 2 in the morning to think of things that are different, unique, to get people to open up, from Leon to Ram to Adam Robinson. Again, he's incredible. You're probably going to have to wait broadly the public till Tuesday or Wednesday until that goes up. But again, if you go to X, if you go to LinkedIn and scroll through my platform, I guess you'll get, for lack of a better word, an early look. But here's the big picture point. Sorry I took a long time to get to it. It's been a busy week in my studio this week. I can't keep on doing that. I think I could do clips. I think I can maybe even do short 30 to 40-minute bursts. I do want to give away content. I love to give back. The family industry has grown so much since I first launched, and it has changed. And really, even since 2019, and the research shows it, how many new family offices have been created, which also means, other than COVID, a lot of them haven't really been in true crisis. They don't have the experience yet, and they kind of don't know what they don't know. And trust me, what they don't know, I'm going to clean up my language. It's a lot. It's going to use a much more colorful metaphor. They don't know a lot. So imagine now as a member that you're getting, and I already spoke to them. Leon's in New York now. He's Florida in the winter. He's New York now. We'll take Leon to a lunch with our members. We'll spend 3 hours with him. Rom, same thing. This guy's brilliant, by the way. Adam Robinson, he's down with that as well. Now, do I think the primary value of being a part of my SFO continuity, the anchor of it is you meeting incredible people and fostering peer-to-peer dialogue? That is definitely it. But what I like to bring, the people like I'm describing and others, really all of them, from Professor Jeremy Utley to Jolene Caruso to Leon Cooperman to Ram Alawalia to Adam Robinson to the families that I mentioned that were talking amazing things in Palm Beach to get them to officially join, those that have it, and come up to New York and share with their peers. But I do agree, selectively, the right, I'm not even going to really use the word speakers, but people to interact with the peer group. Maybe we're just sitting down talking, again, having lunch. I think that's going to be very, very important. I can't emphasize enough that, again, I gravely underestimated the face-to-face. That's my bad. I made a mistake. I make them sometimes. And we are at it right now. Like, I just came back from Palm Beach. I'm doing it again in New York in May, in June, July. Maybe we do a Hamptons in place of the city now that I have that rooftop access. So I am back in this direction and I am busy. You need to be a member. This is a membership group. I'm not running an event company. I'm not looking for, let me get a sponsor here or there. No, been there, done that. Now, do I get invited to certain interesting family office groups or roundtables or luncheons that I may broadly invite some of you others to? Sure, where it's a good fit. I'm going to be emceeing and talking about my experience as an AI investor to a program at Smith and Walensky on May 2nd. It's not mine. So founding members, I'll invite first if they can make it great, and then I'll open up my Rolodex a little more. So sharing in what I get access to, but technically, again, that's not necessarily my event. My events are going to be far more uber private. Even what I did at a New York steakhouse a couple of weeks ago really was a friend of mine's event that, in terms of, he was hosting on a variation of investing in private companies, but not necessarily what I'm doing more exclusively at SFO Continuity. But it still was good and a great steak, I might add. So I think what I really took for granted and maybe overlooked is the camaraderie of knowing, sharing, and connecting with amazing families and family offices. No amount, it's stuck in my head now, no amount of content and digital masterclasses will ever match the insights, the connections, the accountability, and actions when the right people come together and that's fostered. So I'm extremely excited about what I'm doing. And yes, if I'm not an advocate in what I do, and I don't ask you if you're qualified to want to be a part of it, then that's not building a membership club. I need to go out there and be the zealous advocate. And I'm going to do it over and over and over again. I've been invited to be on some podcasts, partially thanks to this week. Apparently it got into some pretty interesting hands. Like, my God, this crazy guy Angelo actually occasionally does some wickedly good interviews that are 2 or 3 hours long. I could have went 4 to 5 hours with Adam. He kind of topped out. And by the way, it got a little testy with me and Adam sometimes. And I consider Adam a friend. Certain topics we spoke about, from Caitlin Clark to Bitcoin to other topics, he was getting a little angry. Like, that's okay. Like, Stop with this politically correct, down the middle, boring, vanilla shit. Let's have a strong opinion. Let's go at it from a friendly perspective, and let's try to learn. Be careful. And I spoke about this with Ram and Adam about anchoring, about confirmation bias. What happened to the days when we could disagree, have good and open discussions, and learn something from the other party, have strong opinions, but weakly held? A little bit like poker, as new information comes in, just like how the world is working now. What we learned a year ago, 10 years ago in school, for some of you 30, 40 years ago, does not necessarily apply now. The world has changed. So we already have some extraordinary people. I'm going to be a little careful what I say because he still has to sign on the dotted line and pay. But it looks like we'll be taking in a new member in both Palm Beach and New York. He's both. That is incredible. I don't know where to start. He's an older gentleman, incredibly cordial, beyond wickedly successful, probably one of the 400 most successful people in the world. And what this man does in direct investing is kind of unparalleled. Now, I have mentioned that direct investing a couple of times. The capability of setting up holding companies, of knowing how to structure, and I'm also close with the person who basically was the right-hand man for Ron Perlman for a number of years. And by the way, all family offices, including my friend from a Forbes 200 family in LA, incredibly active direct investors. You've been fed a bunch of bullshit that you need to have dozens and dozens and dozens of employees to be an active direct investor. It is absolutely not true. You need to know how to structure your holding company, how to get it for tax advantages, how to work with NOLs, net operating losses. Of course, great accounting helps to take care of that. And I know, of course, great people. And operators. You know what you really have to do? You got to hire damn well. That's how you build a great family office, by the way. It really is all in the people. If you hire and incentivize and you give them the opportunity to have the runway to excel, you're going to win. I have a saying that I could go into any family office, unless the people are truly just god-awful people at heart, and I could take their mediocrity and within 30 to 60 days, turn it around to good. I don't know if I could do good to great. Love Jim Collins. I think there is a pattern in terms of structure to do that, but some people may simply not have that in them. So that chasm, that difference between good to great, which may only be 10 or 15%, it's actually a pretty damn hard 10 or 15%. I love practice management. I'm great at it, but I know that a lot of you just aren't interested. So I'm giving you what you want. And I missed it. I missed the camaraderie. I missed the face-to-face. I am absolutely back. No interest in building another FOA. Again, if this stops at 30 founding members, I'm kind of good with that as well. We'll see. So, and I already have, including the person who I didn't name, that as he comes back on Monday should be official. Like, join us. Like, I want you to be a part of it. I want you to believe in it, believe in me, believe in the opportunity that we're actively doing things now. Last summer I was a little lost. I wasn't quite there yet. I'm there now. I feel great. I'm energetic. My fitness is incredible. I feel I have a little bit of something to prove. I feel that I might have been somewhere towards the top of the mountain. I've made mistakes where maybe not now. And that bothers me. You want to call that ego, call it ego. I am here. I want to make magic happen. I have incredible people around me. I'm so fortunate to know and have learned from all these incredible, even founders of what I'm doing now, and people that I know in the community, some of them prominent. I don't want to overly name drop. I have interviewed them in person or at my digital programs. Some of them I'm friends with them, their family, and their family office. So I hope you could join us, because collectively as a group, including in doing good in society, our families, and broadly in philanthropy, which I didn't speak enough about, but I wanted to keep this relatively, by Angelo standards, concise. Shocking, I actually planned this as 10 or 15 minutes, and what we're 40 minutes in now. So I guess I don't have a problem coming up with words. I have my other weaknesses. I have too many words. So one, or in ending, I hope you could join us, because collectively as a group, we could do amazing things. Now, other quick parting comments, because some of you may not honestly be qualified to be a part of what I'm doing here in SFO Continuity. And again, it's a charter member pricing. It's not inconsequential, but it's not a lot of money either. I'm not in this for a charity. You have to join because you're going to get 100x value, especially from this day, or really from 2 weeks ago, moving forward. And very simply, you could go to angelorobles.com. Again, my website, angelorobles.com. Go to the membership tab. It's pretty simple. I decided not to, like I talk, to make it too long, and it's actually easy to join. There was one person who did so and paid and honestly was not qualified, and I had a conversation with them. I spoke about things that they may be able to be involved with me on, which I'll get to in a second, and refunded the Stripe their money. So that may happen occasionally, but I did want to make the process easy. So again, angelorobles.com, go to membership. It's pretty simple. Read it in about 2 minutes. You'll figure it out. Perhaps you watch this video and simply move forward. We will, and I don't know, maybe it does take until the fall. Maybe it takes until June 1st. We will hit 30 members. And I want you to be a part of it for a variety of reasons, including favorable factors to you. For those of you that may be watching that may service in the community or not quite be a good fit, I appreciate you. I love the fact that you're interested, and hopefully my content, including my free content, which again may get a little bit more limiting in the coming weeks, but is still going to be valuable. Consider me a friend. You could reach out to me anytime. And many of you I also learn from too and provide value to the community. I really do appreciate you. There may be certain circumstances in hosting a social soiree around a Hamptons event or the Milk-In, which I may go to again this year in LA, where there might be something where it could be an aligned fit relative to some sort of engagement or partnership we could see. So I do want to keep an open mind, but here's what I do know. So reach out to me, email me, Angelo@angelorobles.com. Couldn't be any easier. Angelo@angelorobles.com. No matter who you are, I want to do the right thing, be a good person, and be of value to you. But to be very clear, to be a part of the SFO Continuity, my private membership club, and to be a founding member, you need to be qualified. Does it get a little tricky with the rising generation, depending on their age and engagement, if they're legitimately qualified, but they're not necessarily a decision maker? Yes, that may require a case by case. It depends. I get it. There's context. But you do need to be one of them, and you do need to join and pay. You have to be committed. The reality is 99% of people, even qualified, again, what did I say before? They kind of want to be left alone. They think they have it all figured out. Among the 3 things I talk about with family office executives as well, again, don't forget I love practice management, is competency, identifying blind spots, and moving ego aside. Actually, the competency is moderately easy. The latter 2, identifying blind spots and understanding ego and anchoring and confirmation bias and having people tell us the truth, which even I needed more of a couple of years ago. And that's very, very important. So again, I don't want to bog this down to be too long. I don't want to make it a practice management seminar or lecture. And by the way, for everyone, what I did mention about my masterclasses, my members will get that automatically. They'll be giving a discount code. They don't have to pay for anything. But if you wanted, no matter who you are, to engage in my digital downloadable masterclasses, one is up now. It's up on my website under, well, obviously, Masterclass. And it's how to create or reimagine into a top 1% family office. It's a little bit of my life's work over 5 or 6 hours. I'll probably also add to it. And I have others coming up about AI in family offices, about sovereign risk and disaster preparedness, a massive consulting project I did for effectively, honestly, a Forbes 20 family a couple of years ago, early during COVID. I know that subject better than anyone in the family office world, and arguably better than anyone else in the world. You need to become more of a global citizen. You need to diversify. And there's a variety of techniques, strategies, connections to do that. That as my members are interested, they'll get access when I release that digital masterclass in the summer, and happy to have conversations with them one-on-one. So even if you're not qualified and don't want to be a member of SFO Continuity, I still love you. I still want to give you some of my free content in LinkedIn and Family Office TV and YouTube. Sure. And there still are ways you can engage, whether qualified or not, or it's a pricing thing with some of the masterclasses, which are priced as digital downloadable 24/7 access incredibly cost effectively. They're too cheap, but I wanted to make it accessible. I want to give back to the community. I wanted to provide value. I'm just reading a couple of things that came in. Thank you. Thank you. One or two also texted me. And I'm glad you enjoyed this week and some of the interviews that I did, because I don't know if I'm ever going to have something quite that level of length and detail and everything that we share, as I'm really focused on my private membership community that I want you, as qualified, your consideration to be a part of. Again, I'm Angelo Robles. Go to angelorobles.com and simply go to membership. And if you want to peruse around what I'm doing in some of the interviews and masterclasses and consultative work, go for it. I'm happy to be of value where I could, but I need to have tight controls. I need to live up to what I say I'm going to do in SFO continuity, which is, again, my membership. And now is the time. And those of you that came on in the summer, I greatly appreciate you. I'm sorry it took this long to really get it up the way I wanted to. It took months longer than I thought. But we are here now, and that's what matters. Thank you all for your considerations. I hope you all have a great weekend and look forward to the next time, and look forward to hopefully some of you becoming a part of what I'm doing. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and have a great day.